The sound of shovels hitting hard soil echoed through the early morning mist. Akin's hands ached, but he didn't stop. Each strike brought a glimmer, just a flash of yellow in the damp earth, but enough to make his heart pound. "Did you see that, Yesai?" he whispered, sweat dripping from his brow. "It's gold, real gold." Esai's eyes widened. She knelt beside him, brushing the dirt away with careful fingers. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the rustling of the tall grasses around them. It's shining like the sun." "Yes, I've never seen anything like it," Akin said, pulling the nugget free. Felt warm in his palm, almost alive. The two of them looked at each other, the weight of the discovery pressing down like a storm on the horizon. This land, quiet and forgotten by outsiders, was hiding a secret, and it had chosen them to find it. "You think the others will believe us?" Yesai asked. Her voice trembled. What if they take it from us?" Akin swallowed hard. He knew her fear was not unfounded. Stories of greedy outsiders, of powerful men who would crush anyone in their path to claim what they wanted, had haunted the village for generations. But the sparkle in her eyes mirrored his own excitement. "We'll show them together. We'll be careful. But this—" He held the gold up to the rising sun. "This could change everything." A sudden noise broke their moment. A shout from the edge of the clearing. Akande and Esai froze. A figure ran toward them, dust kicking up behind his bare feet. It was Tund, the village elder's grandson, his chest heaving. "You found it, haven't you?" he asked, eyes wide, almost frantic. Don't you see what this means?" "We just dug it up," Akin said defensively, holding the nugget closer. "It's not anyone else's yet." Tund grabbed his shoulder, shaking him with urgency. "Not yet, yes, but once the news spreads, everyone will come. The outsiders, the men in suits, the ones who do not care about life. They will come, Akande, and they will take everything." Yesai shivered. "We should hide it," she suggested, looking around nervously. "Somewhere safe." "No," Akin said firmly, gripping the gold. "We cannot hide this. This is our land, our discovery. We can't let fear rule us before we even start." Tund's eyes narrowed. "Fear is what keeps you alive. Remember the stories, Akande. Remember what happened to the last family that tried to keep gold for themselves. They paid the price." A gust of wind carried the voices of the distant village, the faint sound of chickens clucking and children laughing. It felt like another world compared to the tension in the clearing. Akande closed his eyes, thinking of his mother, of the family struggling to make ends meet, of the years spent watching others prosper while they scraped by. He opened them again, determination hardening his gaze. "We'll be careful," he promised. "But this is our chance, and we won't let it go." Esai nodded, but fear lingered in the curve of her shoulders. The two of them gathered their finds, placing the nuggets carefully in a small cloth bag, whispering about where they could hide them safely until nightfall. They had no idea that someone had been watching from the tree line, unseen, silent, eyes glinting in the early light, calculating, waiting. By the time the sun fully rose, the news had begun to ripple through the village. A few villagers had wandered close, curious about the commotion at the clearing. Whispers turned into murmurs, murmurs into rumors, and rumors into panic. The word gold spread faster than anyone could control. And with the spread of word came the first outsiders, strangers in dusty boots and crisp shirts, who asked questions with smiles that didn't reach their eyes. One such outsider, tall and sharp-eyed, approached the elder's home. "Good morning," he said smoothly, holding out a hand that seemed more like a tool than a greeting. "I hear there is gold in this area. Perhaps we could discuss it." The elder, an old man with skin like cracked earth and eyes that had seen too much, frowned. "This land has always fed us," he said slowly, choosing his words carefully. "We do not welcome men who only take and leave nothing behind." The outsider smiled wider, revealing two perfect teeth. Of course, but surely you understand the opportunity. With our help, the gold can bring prosperity." Imagine schools, medicine, roads, prosperity for you, the elder muttered under his breath, shaking his head. Not for us. Meanwhile, Akande and ESI tried to maintain normalcy, but every shadow made them jump. Every sound of footsteps on the dirt road could be a harbinger of danger. At night, as they huddled near the fire, they whispered plans, argued over what to do next, and shared fleeting moments of laughter, trying to keep the terror at bay. SI's hand found Akande's, gripping tightly. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked softly. Akande met her eyes. "We had no choice. The gold chooses you, ESI, not the other way around. But we'll protect it. And each other." Days passed, and the village grew restless. Some families were already scheming, eyeing the strangers who lingered with too much interest. Others prayed for protection, turning to the elders for guidance. Tensions ran high, friends whispered about betrayal, and even the wind seemed heavy with warnings. One evening, under the orange glow of the setting sun, a heated argument erupted in the village square. "We cannot let these outsiders take our gold," shouted one man, his fists clenching. "We need to dig more, claim it before they do." A woman stood, shaking her head. "And bring ruin upon us all? You think greed won't destroy our families?" Akande, standing quietly at the edge of the crowd, felt the weight of their fear and anticipation pressing against him. He looked at ESI, her eyes wide with worry, and knew that their actions had ignited something far bigger than themselves, something unstoppable. From the shadows, Tund watched, lips pressed thin. He had tried to warn them, tried to stop the recklessness. But perhaps it was already too late. The gold was no longer a secret, and the land that had slept peacefully for centuries was beginning to stir. And as night fell, the first violent storms rolled in over the hills, dark clouds swirling above like an omen. Somewhere deep in the forest, a branch snapped. Someone or something was moving closer. The villagers didn't know it yet, but their lives, their morality, and their very survival were about to be tested in ways no one could imagine. Before we move on, remember, if you're enjoying the story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video, and let us know in the comments how you think the villagers should deal with the gold. Your support keeps the story alive and brings the next chapters right to you. The wind grew louder, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and danger. Akande lay awake in his small hut, eyes tracing the ceiling, thinking of the gold hidden beneath the floorboards. SI's soft breathing beside him was the only comfort. But outside, shadows moved, plotting, waiting, hungry for what the villagers had unearthed. And as the first scream shattered the stillness of the night, the villagers realized the nightmare had begun. The scream echoed through the village like a clap of thunder. Akande bolted upright, heart hammering. SI was beside him in an instant, eyes wide, clutching his arm. What was that?" she whispered. "I don't know," Akande said, already sliding on his sandals. "Stay close," pointing toward the outskirts, shouting in panic. From the shadows, a figure stumbled out of the brush. A young boy, covered in mud and tears streaking his face. They took him," he gasped. Men with suits. They came for the gold." A murmur of fear swept through the villagers. Tund pushed forward, grabbing the boy gently. "Where did they go?" he asked. The boy shook his head violently. "I don't know. They said, the gold belongs to us now." Akande clenched his fists. "We need to hide the gold. Now." Yesai shook her head. "It's not safe anywhere. We can't outrun them if they know where it is." A sharp voice cut through the panic. "We'll fight them," shouted a man from the back of the crowd. "We've lived here longer than anyone. This is our land." Tun's face went pale. "And die for it?" he said quietly. "Listen, strength alone won't stop them. They have weapons. They have numbers. Fear them, yes, but plan first." Arguments erupted. Families split between those who wanted to defend the gold and those who wanted to surrender it to save lives. Akande felt his stomach tighten. This wasn't just about gold anymore, it was about survival, loyalty, and who they could trust. Yesai grabbed his arm again. We have to leave the village tonight. Take the gold with us. We can't stay here while they hunt us. Akande hesitated. Where would we go? The forest? It's vast and dangerous. But his gaze fell on the small cloth bag in his hand, heavy with nuggets. Maybe you're right. We can't risk the entire village. By sunset, a plan was forming. Akande, Esi, and a small group of trusted villagers would slip into the hills under cover of darkness. They would take the gold and hide it where no outsider could find it. But even as they packed, whispers followed them. Rumors of traitors and spies hidden among friends. Tund approached Akande, his expression grave. I'll stay behind. I'll distract them, make them think the gold is still here. You take care of Esi and the others. Akande gritted his teeth. You could get hurt. I know, Tund said firmly. But someone has to stand while the rest escape. The night was thick with tension as they moved silently through the undergrowth, carrying the gold like a sacred burden. Every rustle of leaves, every snapping branch made hearts race. Akande could hear Esi's shallow breaths beside him, small tremors running through her body. What if they catch us? She whispered. Akande squeezed her hand. Then we fight. But we won't let them take this without a price. Hours passed, and the village lights faded behind them. They finally reached a hidden cave in the hills, damp and dark, but secure. The villagers placed the gold carefully on a flat stone, covering it with leaves and dirt. For the first time, Akande let himself breathe. We're safe for now, Esi said, her voice trembling. Akande nodded, but unease gnawed at him. He could still feel eyes on them, even in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the outsiders were watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Suddenly, a rustle from the cave entrance made everyone jump. Akande spun, heart racing. A man's figure loomed in the shadows, one of the outsiders, unmistakable in his sharp suit. His smile cruel. Thought you could hide from me? The man said smoothly, stepping forward. Gold like that, it belongs to the world, and I am its collector. Esi gasped, stumbling backward. Akande stepped in front of her. You leave now, he demanded, voice shaking with fury. Or we fight. The man laughed, a chilling sound. Fight? You think you can fight me? I have men outside ready to claim what you found. You're wasting your courage here. Akande's chest tightened. He looked at the small group around him. Friends, neighbors, ordinary villagers suddenly armed with sticks and courage, not experience. And he realized that tonight, the stakes were far higher than gold. This was survival, pride, and the soul of the land itself. Don't forget, Tund's voice called from the shadows outside. The land remembers. The gold has a price you'll all pay if you take it by force. The outsider froze for a moment, his smile faltering. Akande felt a spark of hope. Maybe the stories of the old warnings were not just stories. Maybe the land itself could protect them, or punish the greedy. Hours later, the man left, unwilling to risk the curse, or perhaps to regroup. The villagers collapsed, exhausted, adrenaline fading into fear. Akande and Esi stayed close, whispering reassurances, their fingers intertwined. Do you think we made the right choice? Esi asked softly. Akande nodded, though doubt lingered. We had no choice, but we must protect this gold. And each other. That's all that matters. As dawn broke, the forest around them glimmered with dew, golden in the first light. Akande glanced at the hidden gold, thinking of his mother, of the village, of the promises he had made. And somewhere deep inside, he felt the weight of the land's judgment, silent and patient, waiting. The outsiders would return, he knew. They always did. But the villagers were no longer passive. They had plans, alliances, and a secret that would make even the most ruthless, greedy men think twice. And as the sun rose, Akande whispered to Esi, we survive this together. Whatever comes next, we face it together. If you're following this story, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below with what you think the villagers should do next. Your input might shape the next chapter of their journey. The day passed quietly, but tension hung heavy in the air. Every crack of a branch, Every distant animal cry made hearts jump. ESI and Akande shared fleeting smiles, but they both knew this calm was temporary. At nightfall, a fire was lit in the hidden cave. Villagers huddled together, speaking in low voices about strategies, escape routes, and how to defend the gold. Children slept uneasily, while elders muttered old warnings, stories of families who had fallen to greed centuries ago. "We must be smarter than them," Tund reminded everyone, pacing in the dim light. "We cannot let fear drive our decisions. The gold is heavy, yes, but greed is heavier, and it will crush you if you let it." Akande nodded. "We'll protect it, not for the gold but for our people, and for the land." Isai rested her head on his shoulder, voice barely above a whisper. Promise me we'll survive this." Akande held her tightly. "I promise, we will survive. Together." And somewhere in the shadows beyond the hills, eyes watched them, calculating, patient, and relentless. The outsiders were not finished. The gold had awoken desires that would not rest, and soon, the villagers would face challenges no one could have anticipated. Night deepened over the hills, and the hidden cave trembled with whispered plans. Akande paced silently, the weight of the gold pressing in his thoughts. ESI sat close to him, her fingers tracing idle patterns on the cloth bag. "Do you think they'll come back tonight?" she asked, voice tight. "They will," Akande said without looking at her. "They always do, but we're ready. We have Tund, the villagers, and this land." He gestured toward the covered gold, as if it were a living thing. "It's not just treasure, it's a warning." Esai's brow furrowed. "A warning? Or a curse?" Akande didn't answer. He didn't need to. The weight of centuries hung between them, felt in every creak of the cave, every shifting shadow. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees like voices from the past. Tund's voice broke the silence. "The gold will change people," he said low and hard. "Even here, even among us. Watch yourselves." Akande turned sharply. "What do you mean?" Tund met his gaze, eyes dark. "I mean, watch the faces around you. The way people look at the gold. Some see hope, yes, but some, they see only power, only what they can take. And that will destroy us faster than any outsider." Akande swallowed, realizing Tund's words were true. Even among their small group, glances lingered too long, hands brushed near the gold with too much curiosity. Greed was subtle, but it was creeping in. Hours passed. Conversations grew heated as villagers debated what to do next. "We cannot stay hidden forever," one man argued. "The gold will rot here if we do nothing. We must dig more, take what we can." Yesai's hand shot up. "And risk our lives? And the lives of the children." Her voice trembled, but her eyes blazed. "Do you want the outsiders to find us or to kill us all?" Akande raised his voice. "Enough!" He stepped forward, placing his hands on the bag of gold. "Listen to me. The gold is ours, yes, but it is not worth the death of our people. We must be patient. We must plan carefully." A murmur ran through the cave. Some nodded. Others muttered under their breath. The tension was palpable. Every villager felt it, like the air itself was charged, waiting to snap. Late into the night, Akande and ESI huddled together near the fire, whispering in shadows. "Do you ever wonder," ESI said softly, "if we were meant to find it at all? Maybe the land, maybe the ancestors, they were testing us." Akande was silent for a moment, staring into the flickering flames. "I think we were chosen, yes," he said finally, "but not to claim it carelessly. We were chosen to protect it, to survive it, and to honor it. That is our task." The firelight danced across their faces, revealing shadows of fear and resolve. Outside, the forest whispered warnings in the night, rustling the leaves like ancient voices. Somewhere distant, the howl of a wolf, or perhaps a warning from the unseen, cut through the air. By dawn, unease had settled into a heavy fog. Villagers were restless, their dreams haunted by shadows and gold. Children cried softly in their sleep, Elders muttered curses under their breath, and whispers of betrayal floated like smoke. Akande and Tund stepped outside for a moment of clarity. The morning was eerily quiet, the sun filtering weakly through the mist. "Do you think they're coming today?" Akande asked. "They are," Tund said. "And when they do, some of us will falter. Greed is a poison. It works faster than bullets." Their conversation was cut short by shouting from the cave. A small group of villagers had gathered near the entrance, arguing loudly. "We can't keep it hidden forever," one exclaimed. "We have to move it, or someone will betray us." Yesai stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. "Do you want to endanger all of us? We stay here, we survive together. We move rashly, we die alone." The argument escalated, voices overlapping. Akande stepped in again, raising his hands. "Calm down. Look at each other. We are a family. And if we cannot act as one, then the gold will destroy us from within before anyone else can touch it." Tund's eyes scanned the faces around him, noting the flicker of doubt and desire. He shook his head quietly. "He's right," he said almost to himself. "The real danger is not outside. It is here, in our hearts." The day dragged on, heavy with unease. Villagers kept watch in shifts, listening for the sound of outsiders or the snap of a branch in the forest. Akande and Esai worked tirelessly, planning, strategizing, praying. By late afternoon, a sudden cry shattered the silence. "They're coming!" someone shouted. From the ridge above, dust spiraled into the air, and figures appeared. Outsiders in crisp clothing, armed, confident, and merciless. The villagers scrambled, panic mixing with determination. Some grabbed sticks and farming tools. Others hid in the underbrush. Akande grabbed Esai's hand. "Stay close. No matter what happens, we stick together." The outsiders advanced slowly, almost casually, but their presence was suffocating. "We come for what belongs to us," one of them shouted, voice carrying over the hills. "Give it up, and no one gets hurt." Esai's voice trembled as she spoke, clutching Akande's arm. "No, we won't. It's ours. It's our land." Akande raised his voice. "Back off, or we fight for every inch of it." Tund's figure emerged from the shadows, his presence commanding, fearless. "They will not take it," he said firmly. "The land has already chosen who survives, and it will protect its own." For a moment silence hung. The outsiders hesitated, uncertain, as though sensing something greater than themselves. And in that pause, a small miracle, or perhaps an omen, occurred. A distant thunder rolled over the hills, though the sky was clear, and a flock of birds erupted from the trees, scattering into the air. It was enough to shake the confidence of the outsiders. Some glanced at each other nervously. Others tightened their grips on weapons. The villagers, emboldened, tightened their formation around the hidden gold. Akande felt Esai press close. "We have to survive this," she whispered. "Yes," he said, meeting her eyes. "We survive. Together." Hours passed like this. Tense, silent, charged with emotion. Neither side made a move, each waiting for the other to falter. And all the while, the gold sat in the center of the cave, heavy with power, temptation, and danger. As night fell, the outsiders withdrew, not out of mercy, but calculation. They would return, they always did. But for now, the villagers had survived, united, and the gold remained safe for the moment. Akande and Esai sat by the fire, holding each other, exhausted. "We made it," she whispered. "For now," he replied. "But this is just the beginning." Before we continue, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and comment below on what you think the villagers should do next. Every view, every like, every comment helps bring the story closer to the next chapter. The cave was quiet now, but tension lingered like smoke in the air. Outside, shadows moved, and the forest seemed to watch. The villagers huddled together, some in relief, some in fear, all aware that the trials were far from over. The next morning, a heavy fog rolled over the hills, swallowing the cave in gray silence. Akande rose first, his eyes scanning the shadows beyond the entrance. "They'll come back," he murmured to Esi, who had not yet stirred. "They always do," she whispered, voice raw with exhaustion. "I can't keep pretending I'm not afraid." Akande took her hands, gripping them tightly. "Fear is natural. Courage is acting in spite of it. We survive not because we are fearless, but because we endure." Esi nodded, though doubt lingered in her eyes. "And if someone betrays us?" Akande's jaw tightened. "Then we deal with it together. No one touches this gold unless they are ready to face all of us. And the land." The villagers gathered as planned, a tense assembly around the hidden treasure. Tun stepped forward, eyes scanning each face. "We cannot underestimate the danger," he said, voice low but firm. "The outsiders are patient, ruthless, and clever. And greed is the real enemy here." A young villager, his eyes bright with ambition, spoke up. "We have survived so far. Maybe we should take some of the gold and leave. Why wait? Why risk more?" Esi's voice rose, sharp and urgent. "Because if we start taking pieces for ourselves, we tear apart everything we've built. We risk more than just the outsiders. Our own hearts will betray us." The young villager's face hardened, resentment flickering in his eyes. "And what if staying together gets us killed anyway?" he demanded. "You think the gold will protect us? It's nothing but trouble." Akande stepped between them, holding up a hand. "Enough. Look around you. Do you see the strength of one, or the strength of all? We survive because we stand together, because we care for each other. If we fracture now, we lose everything. Our families, our village, and this land itself." Murmurs rippled through the group. Some nodded, reluctantly agreeing. Others muttered under their breath, eyes flicking toward the gold with longing. Hours passed, and tension grew unbearable. The villagers took turns keeping watch, eyes straining in the dim light. Every shadow became a threat, every distant sound a potential warning. Akande and Esi huddled together near the gold, whispering plans. "We can't stay here forever," Esi said softly. "Eventually they'll find us. And what then?" "We wait," Akande replied. "Patience is our weapon. And the land is on our side. It has protected us so far, hasn't it?" Esi nodded but did not speak. The memory of the outsider's cruel smile haunted her. And yet, in Akande's presence, she felt a flicker of hope. As night fell again, a new danger emerged. Not from outsiders, but from within. Some villagers, unable to resist the temptation of gold, began whispering among themselves. "Just a small piece," one said, voice barely audible. "No one will know. What's the harm in taking a little for our families?" Esi overheard the murmurs and felt her heart tighten. "Akande," she whispered urgently. "They're talking about stealing it." Akande's eyes narrowed. "We cannot let fear and greed tear us apart. We need a plan to keep watch, and we need trust. Without trust, we are finished." Tun stepped forward, addressing the murmuring villagers. "The gold has already shown its power," he said. "It can corrupt even the kindest hearts. You think a small piece won't matter? It will matter. And once the first person takes it, the rest will follow. And then we are lost." Silence fell over the cave. The villagers understood, some with relief, others with resentment. The choice was clear: unity or destruction. Hours later, a distant cry pierced the night. Akande and Tund exchanged tense glances. The outsiders had returned, bolder this time. Dust swirled on the hills, and the faint sound of marching boots reached their ears. Akande's heart raced. "They're here," he whispered. "Prepare yourselves." The villagers moved quickly, forming a protective circle around the gold. Sticks, farming tools, and whatever makeshift weapons they could find were gripped tightly. The fear in their eyes was clear, but so was their resolve. The outsiders emerged from the mist, confident and unyielding. "Give it up," one shouted. "You cannot hide forever." "We won't," Akande replied, voice firm. "The gold is ours, and we will defend it." A tense standoff ensued. The air was thick with anticipation, every heartbeat loud in the silence. Then, a sudden shout. A villager had spotted movement in the shadows. Panic surged, and the first clash seemed inevitable. Before it erupted, a sharp voice cut through. "Stop!" Tun stepped forward, holding his hands high. "You don't understand. The gold is not just metal. It carries the weight of the land, the blood of our ancestors, and the will of the village. If you touch it carelessly, you will bring destruction upon yourselves." The outsiders hesitated, eyes narrowing. "Superstition," one muttered. "Nothing more." Akande felt a chill run down his spine. Perhaps it was superstition, but it was also truth. Something about this land was alive, patient, and unyielding. And if the outsiders did not respect it, the consequences would be catastrophic. Hours dragged on as both sides circled, watching, waiting, each testing the other. The villagers whispered strategies, while outsiders calculated their move. And all the while, the gold lay heavy in the center, glowing faintly in the firelight, a silent witness to human greed and courage. By dawn, the outsiders withdrew again, cautious, unwilling to risk what they did not understand. Relief swept through the villagers, but it was short-lived. They knew this was only temporary. The outsiders would return, more prepared, more ruthless, and with greater force. Akande knelt by the gold, whispering prayers of protection. Isai rested her head on his shoulder, exhausted. "Do you think we can survive this?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Akande held her tightly. "We have survived this far, and together we will face whatever comes next." As the sun rose, casting long shadows over the hills, the villagers worked quietly, tending to their wounded spirits, fortifying their temporary refuge, and reinforcing their bond. They understood the gold was more than treasure. It was a test of unity, courage, and morality. And somewhere in the distance, the land watched silently, waiting to see who would falter, who would betray, and who would survive. If you're still with us on this journey, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below to share what you would do if you were in Akande and Esai's shoes. Your support helps bring the next chapters to life, and every click keeps the story alive. The sun was low on the horizon, painting the hills in fiery gold and crimson. Akande stood at the cave's entrance, eyes scanning the distant figures moving through the mist. The outsiders had returned, larger in number, their determination unmistakable. Their footsteps beat against the earth like a drum of war. "Everyone, stay calm," Akande said, voice firm despite the tremor in his chest. "We know the land, we know each other, and we know the gold is ours to protect." Esai clutched his arm. "And if they break through?" Akande's eyes softened. "Then we face them together. But remember, the gold chooses no one blindly. We have been careful, we have been united. That is our strength." Tun stepped forward, his gaze sweeping over the villagers. "Tonight, we show them that greed cannot conquer hearts joined by courage and love. We do not fight for gold alone, but for our families, our lives, and our land." A rustle from the trees signaled the outsiders' approach. They moved faster now, confident, ready to seize what they believed was theirs. Akande, Esai, and the villagers formed a circle around the hidden gold. Sticks, farming tools, even stones, were raised in trembling hands, but the determination in their eyes was unmistakable. The outsiders halted a few meters away, sizing up the villagers. "Step aside," one shouted. "This is not your treasure to keep." Akande took a deep breath. "It is our land, our gold, and we will defend it. Step closer and you will regret it." A tense silence fell. Then, without warning, the first shout rang out. A villager had hurled a stone toward the outsiders. Chaos erupted. Sticks clashed, shouts filled the air, and fear collided with courage. The outsiders advanced, but the villagers' unity held. Every strike, every dodge, every desperate move was fueled by fear and love intertwined. Amid the struggle, Esai screamed. Akande turned to see one of the younger villagers pinned down by an outsider. Without thinking, he lunged forward, striking the man with a heavy branch. The boy scrambled free, trembling and crying, but alive. From the edges of the clearing, Tund coordinated, shouting instructions, rallying the villagers to hold the line. Do not falter. Protect the gold. Protect each other. Then, as if responding to the desperation and courage of those who truly respected it, the land seemed to awaken. A sudden gust of wind swept across the clearing, kicking up dust and leaves, blinding the outsiders. The ground beneath their feet trembled lightly, and a distant rumble echoed like the growl of a slumbering giant. Some of the outsiders stumbled, unsteady. Fear flickered in their eyes. They had anticipated resistance, but not this something ancient, something alive. Akande seized the moment. Now, he shouted. The villagers pressed forward. Their fear transformed into resolve. They pushed back, driving the outsiders toward the edge of the clearing. The sound of shouting, scuffling, and the clatter of weapons filled the air, but the tide had turned. One of the outsiders, realizing the shift, raised his hands in surrender. Others hesitated, fear replacing arrogance. Akande stood at the center, chest heaving, eyes fixed on the retreating figures. The gold lay untouched, safe for now. As the dust settled, silence fell again, broken only by heavy breaths and the soft whimpers of the frightened. Villagers looked around at each other, faces streaked with sweat and tears, yet shining with relief. They had survived together. Yesai fell into Akande's arms, shaking. We did it, she whispered. Akande held her close. Yes, we did. But this is only the beginning. The gold will always tempt. But as long as we are united, nothing can take us down. Tund stepped forward, placing a hand on Akande's shoulder. The outsiders will return, he said solemnly. But now they know this land cannot be taken by greed alone. It must be earned, and it must be respected. Night fell, and a quiet calm descended over the hills. The villagers tended to the wounded, reassured children, and finally allowed themselves to rest. Around the hidden gold, they spoke in hushed tones, sharing gratitude and relief. The gold had been a test, yes, but it had also revealed their strength, courage, and unity. Akande knelt by the treasure, whispering a prayer. Thank you, he murmured, for guiding us, for protecting us. May this land remain ours to honor, and may those who come with greed learn the cost of their ambition. Si rested her head on his shoulder, tears glistening in her eyes. Do you think it's finally over? Akande shook his head slightly. Nothing like this is ever truly over. But for now we survived, and that is everything. As dawn broke, casting soft golden light over the hills, the villagers emerged from the cave. They looked upon their land with new eyes, not as a source of wealth alone, but as a sacred place, tested and proven. The gold remained hidden, a symbol of temptation and responsibility, and the village stood together, stronger than before. Somewhere in the distant forest, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the echoes of ancient warnings, but also the sense that the land had acknowledged their courage. Akande and Esi walked hand in hand, feeling the pulse of the hills beneath their feet, knowing that the gold had changed them, not just in riches, but in spirit. Before the story closes, remember to subscribe, like this video, and comment below on what you would have done if faced with the choice of gold or unity. Every click helps us bring more tales like this to life and supports the journey of the villagers of the Gold Land. The camera pans out slowly, showing the village bathed in the first light of day, the hills stretching endlessly, golden dust shimmering faintly in the breeze. The threat of outsiders remains, the temptation of gold endures, but the villagers have learned a lesson written in blood, courage, and unity. And in the quiet that follows, one thing is certain. The land remembers, the gold endures, and the people who respect both will survive, while those who seek only greed will pay its price. The story of the blood and suffering of the Gold Land is far from over, but tonight, the village has won a hard-fought victory. Proof that courage, unity, and respect for the land are worth more than gold itself.